And just to check, you can hear me okay? Thumbs up. And you can see me okay? Thumbs up. Awesome. Happy Star Wars Day. And then find a seat that works for you on your mat. You can prop yourself up. If crossing your legs works, cross your legs, awesome. If you prefer to sit some other way, great. And use this first seat as a moment to land, as a moment just to notice what you notice and to feel what you feel. You can keep your eyes open, or you might enjoy closing your eyes. It might help you take your awareness into your body a little bit deeper. And begin with how you're breathing. Notice where there's old habits or old tendencies to the way that you breathe. And see if you can free up your diaphragm and free up your posture so that your breath can drop deep into your lungs. And experiencing that filling up from the bottom to the top. So down in your belly, across your lower ribs, up into your sternum, all the way across your clavicles. And really in that order, right? So bottom up. So there's a sense of natural shape, heaviness, to the way your sternum sits against your chest until the breath floats it up, right? So rather than starting with that lift. And then notice if there are places in your breath that feel stuck or challenged. And move slower through those tricky bits. Move slower through those spaces where it feels like it's a speed bump. And smoothing out the flow of breath in that spot. And then expand that attention to your full body. Imagine sending your breath into your limbs, through your torso. And again, if there's anything that feels stuck, put your attention there. Ask what that spot needs from you. Give it your full attention and direct breath or warmth or space as required. And you can begin to rub your palms together. Create some heat. It might be that you just enjoy the sensation of your palms heating up. Or you might take your hands to any place in your body that wanted your attention. So whether that's a joint or an organ, you can place your warm touch on that spot. Acknowledging, also pledging to continue to listen. And then your hands can meet up one more time at your heart, and maybe that's a hand at your heart and a hand at your belly. Breathe in. Good. Let your hands drop from your body or from each other. If you're sitting on something, move that out to the side. Change the way that you're sitting so you can drop the soles of your feet flat to the floor. And then you can hook your elbow creases around the front of your knees. And when you get there, you might hold on to one wrist, or you might grip your two hands, sort of a monkey grip, or you can interlace your fingers with real open wrists. So any of those places. If you're holding one wrist, you'll be tractioning that one wrist. But if you're gripping or interlacing, you can apply some traction in both directions. It goes through both wrists and even through the digits of your hands. But we'll be coming back to this a couple times, so no need to feel like you've got to get it all done. And then find a place where you can just be on your sitting bones, where you can just sit. And there's length to your spine without feeling as though you've got to become hyper erect in your posture to the point of feeling rigid in your upper back. You use some strength in your elbows to find that place, and then put your attention back on your breath coming down to your belly. Letting your gaze just move out in front of you. Because you've closed the angle of your hip now, there won't be as much room, as much space for your belly to have that same amount of filling up. So really notice and invite your breath to go where it can go. So out into your side ribs, out behind your kidneys, across your shoulder blades. Still making some inroads to your upper chest as well. Noticing where your teeth are and seeing if your upper and lower teeth can just part and separate. But keeping the connection that your tongue wants to make on your hard palate. And then notice those other two soft trampoline surfaces of your soft palate and your pelvic floor. And have a hint of lift in your soft palate and a hint of lift in your pelvic floor without becoming hard or rigid in either one of those places. And give yourself a few more breaths like that. Simple diaphragmatic breathing. Starting from the inside to go out. Take one more breath here. And then a little more sitting up as you release whatever grip you've got with your hand. You might want to scoot forward a little bit on your mat because you will be rolling down to your back. Keep the soles of your feet flat. You can have your hands on your knees at first and then start to slowly roll back. And then you can release the grip and let yourself ease your feet forward a little bit until you go all the way down to your back. And then rebend your knees, step your feet wide on your mat, so all the way to the edges. Open your arms out wide to a T. You can have some softness in your elbows there. Don't get too concerned about the actual position of your arms. So if your arms are down in more of an inverted V, that's also fine. Let your knees start to go left and right. Just exploring a little bit of movement through your femurs and hips. But then your head and your eyes are going to go opposite. So when your knees are going to the right, let your head turn and roll to the left, passing through the middle, and then your knees will go left and your head will go to the right. Very often when we take our knees to the side like this, that's usually an exhale. But I want you to think about an inhale today. And let that be what helps you slow down the last little bit of movement. So in the end range of the rotation, the end range of your knees dropping, you really slow down like the parachute has been engaged or the reverse thrusters have been engaged. So you can allow your knees to move in the direction of the ground, but the goal is not the ground, right? The goal here is simply to move your head and your knees in opposition. So that you're working physically, of course, but using that physical work to engage your nervous system and your vestibular system, moving across your body and across your brain. A few more times here. The next time that your knees come center, pause there. And then walk your hands behind your thighs and walk your fingers into your knee creases so your feet will have to float there. And first, just find a grip. So think about the whole palm of your hand getting behind your knee, just as a different surface connection. Lift your head off the mat so you can look through your thighs. And then imagine that your legs are going to go up to the ceiling, but in that movement, start to stretch your legs forward. So you have this real rounded shape as you start to draw yourself right up to sit. Right, so really engaging through your low abdominals to get there. And rocking might happen, and if rocking happens, awesome. And then come back to this seat where you had your feet flat to the floor. If you're holding one wrist, hold the opposite wrist now. If you were interlacing, you might try one of the other variations. And have that same sense of tall spine. And then tip your gaze up toward the ceiling. And then turn your gaze down into your belly and chest. Moving your head range of motion without getting into any big changes in your spine around your chest or your low back. We'll have that show up a little bit later. Just letting your gaze tip in both directions, skyward and inward. Try to avoid ever going to the place where it feels like your head is heavy and dropping behind you, or where it feels like you lean back to get your head up. Just go to where you go. Good, and then stop in the middle there. Your head feels balanced. And then take it over your shoulder. So you can look over your right shoulder and then look over your left shoulder. And when you look over your shoulder, puff your chest up in response to that. And see if that gives you any more sense of freedom in the rotation. Notice where your eyes are in between those two extremes. So see what's in front of you as you come through the middle, and then see what's behind you. It's the same way that you shoulder check when you're driving. You might check over your shoulder, but you're conditioned to immediately see what's in front of you again. Right? And you can start to feel how there's a hint of cat and cow in this movement, so that when you're looking over your shoulder, and that's that little puff up of your chest, when you come through the middle, it's the opposite. And it's subtle and it's small. A few more times. Last couple. Good. And then sit in the middle and take a moment, breathing all the way in and all the way out. Give yourself one more breath right there. Good. And then take your hands behind your knees again. Just make sure there's nothing behind you. And then you're going to roll down slowly. So seeing what's different in that second time around. Easing down to your back. Let your arms lay out, palms to the sky. Simple breath into your belly. Slowly exhale everything into the ground. I'll take one more breath there. Good. Then find the grip behind your knee, behind your thigh. Lift your head. And if there are a couple rocks at first, awesome. But it might just be that you dig your fingers in behind your knees, reach your legs forward away from you, and let that bring you back up to sit. Yeah? And then it's not really a cross-legged seat. It's sort of like, it's not really anything specific, but put yourself toward a cross-legged seat. I just end up crossing my 2 feet, kind of a lazy cross. And some dogs have what they call a lazy sit, right? Think about that. And then just take your right hand behind you without looking back there, and let your right hand be what feels like right behind your sacrum. And then bring that around and take your left hand back there, same spot. And then take your right hand around and then look back in that direction. And then do it the other way, left hand around and then look back in that direction. Okay? And then just watch for a brief second here. So when I take my right hand around, I'm going to press into it. I'm also going to press down into my feet so I can transition over to all fours. And then I'll retransition back over to this funky lazy seat. And then my left hand will go, and I stay really close to the ground, and I simply flip over to all fours, okay? So the idea is to stay close to the ground, but to transition, right? So take your right hand around behind you, press into it, press into your feet, slowly turn yourself over and land on all fours. Press into your right hand and your feet, lift your left hand as you return to sitting. Take your left hand around, press into your 2 feet and your left hand, flip yourself slowly over to all fours, and then go back around, sitting. Continue like that. side to side. Paying attention to your support arm so that you're not letting your shoulder move in and out of the socket. And you might find that along the way, because you know you're going back, you don't even put your knees down on the ground. You just flip to that position. You might also find that you just put your hand back there and look, and that's enough. And you put your hand back and you look, and that can be enough. Play with it a few more times. Sometimes if you recross your ankles before you move, you can really feel the unravel. Last one in each direction. Good. And then land on your bum. And then come back to your soles being flat to the floor. And come back to a traction, right? So might be one wrist, grip, or interlaced fingers. And then taking some moment where you're not on your wrists, cat and cow from your seat here. You can really round into your cat with your exhale. And breathe in and open up the front side of your body. Moving through that. It won't be as much of a head tilt with your gaze as when you were just moving your head. A little bit more like looking out high on the horizon. If you're holding one wrist, you can change to the other one. A few more times. Articulating through the whole wave of your spine. Do it one more time to lift up and through your inhale. And around into yourself. Good. Cross your legs. And then come briefly onto all fours. So a little bit like what you were doing from your seat to turn over, right? So now we're just going to focus on going as if you're going back to your seat. So watch for a second. I find that it's easier with your toes pointed than to have your toes curled. You can really use the top of your foot so that when I want to go over and I step my left foot, I flip, but my butt's not on the floor in this moment. I just kind of look back over my shoulder like I heard something, and then I come back. And I'll step over with my right foot, flip and float, right? And then keep going that way. Right, so you can join anytime that you like, starting on all fours, stepping one foot over, press into the hand that remains, float. So if I'm leaning into my right hand, I step my left foot back and over, and I can just touch my left hand to my left knee. When I go the other way, my left hand supports and my right hand goes to my knee. The goal, if you want to think about it that way, is to stay relatively close to the ground. As you turn over, notice where you're looking, right? So that when you flip to that almost seated position, really see what's in front of you, right? And keep going. At no point do you ever move quickly, right? So it really is this measured pace. Just as you're moving, feel what you feel across your waist. Right? As I move here, I'm very aware that the outer sides of my waist have engaged. I'm also aware of my triceps, my shoulders, my hip muscles, but those are more obvious. A few more times. Always keeping your gaze relatively forward horizon, in the direction of the horizon. One more to each side. Good. And then you can stop on all fours. Find your bolster, whatever you have that's bolster-like, or maybe you put your bolster and your blanket down to have a seat. And I want you to think about a squat as you're sitting, right? So my feet go wider than my sitting bones, and I've brought my feet all the way back toward the bolster. So that's the target. If you can aim for that, sometimes that means propping up a little bit higher so that you really feel like you can sit, because that's the main thing. I want you to feel as though you can sit. And notice the surface of your soles and what that feels like. Notice if your spine feels hyper alert or completely asleep, right? And find the place where it's in the middle. Allow yourself just to wiggle through your toes so you can tell if the big toe has some weight and the baby toe has some weight. And then without going very far, just let your weight shift forward some, but don't look down, right? And then shift your weight back some. You're going to feel like you're sitting on a balance ball or something, and then you rock your weight forward. Maybe your arms aren't long yet. Maybe you have more of a bend to your elbow, but you lean and you go back. And it's tempting to lean and look down or to lead with your head in that lean, but I want you to close your ribs closer to your thighs as you lean without dropping your head or changing the angle of your neck. And then you can allow your arms to have a little less weight as they go forward so you can touch your armpits to your knees. So you go forward, armpit. In and out of that. And then as your armpits touch your knees, see if your butt can lift off whatever you're sitting on. It's a tiny bit, like so small. So you don't want to feel as though you're thrusting or heave-hoeing, right? You just feel like you put the weight into your feet enough that you feel your butt become less heavy on whatever it is you're sitting on. So not a huge visible change. So if your hips end up going up to do it, know that that could lead to landing on your nose if you were to try to get all the way up from that, right? To come all the way up to stand. So lean into that. See if your butt can lift a little bit more, and then put it down again. And then move in and out of that a few more times, so that when you go forward, there's a big open heart, big open chest. Like you're ready to leave the nest, ready to take flight. A family of robins who moved into my Christmas wreath last year this time because we didn't take any Christmas decorations down when the pandemic started to come on strong, right? Left it all up. And the birds moved in, and watching the baby birds go right up to the edge and try to figure it out. Last 2 times. It's quite something. One more time. Good, and then land. You can narrow your feet, wrap your arms around your shins, give yourself a little hug there. Breathe all the way in and out. Good. And then take away whatever you're sitting on. Stretch your legs out long again. So this is happening again. And then hug into the back of your knees. Slowly roll yourself down. That should feel different than it did the first couple times you did it. Landing, soles down, knees bent. You can tee open your arms. Notice what you notice. Breathing all the way in and out. And make sure your feet are wide here. Let your knees go over to the left side. Bring your right hand over to the left as you roll to your left side, and just plant your right hand on the floor. So just leaning over into your left, plant your right hand. And then roll again over to your back. Open up your right arm, knees to the right. Let your left arm cross over. Plant down your left hand as you move on to your right side, and just press in for a moment. Across your back, rolling left. Press down your right hand. Lift up part of the way and pull your left hand close to your right hand, right? So it doesn't have to come all the way back. And then re-thread your left arm down. Come across your back. Knees to the right. Plant your left hand. Push into it. Start to come up. Bring your right hand back close to your left hand. You can lift your head up. Re-thread your right arm down and across. Roll to your back. Roll to your left, right hand down. Press down. Start to sit up. Walk your left hand back in close. Get even taller. Walk your hands forward down. Drop your left arm. Roll across your back. Roll to the right. So think about the way you get out of bed. Press your left hand. Walk your right hand in close. Both hands get close to your hip, and you're sitting up tall. Walk your hands away just enough to thread your right arm down across your back. Roll to your left. And keep exploring that. Just working your way up to sit. Noticing if it ever feels jagged. Think about moving stealthfully, which doesn't mean that we'll actually be stealthful, right? But allow yourself to move in that place where you're moving with such attention to every detail. Not that you're overthinking the movement, but that you follow your body's natural patterns rather than getting in the way. And the two sides of your body may not move and maneuver in the same way. You're going to go each way one more time. Last time over to your right. Down onto your back to pause there. And give yourself a moment. Breathing all the way in. And all the way out. Give yourself another exhale into the ground. And then reach behind your knees. Look through your thighs. You might rock a couple times, or you might see if you can have that same reaching out to sit yourself up. And take a moment to land. Good. And then it might be that if you're on a carpeted floor, you won't have to worry about this, but you could spread more blanket down onto your mat and really open up and kind of create a lot of space for it. So it becomes, and I'll just show you with one. So it becomes a larger surface area for you. So it could be that you open it up one time, two times, or all the way open. It just creates a bigger play space, kind of becomes like a baby gym. And then rather than orienting yourself toward the short edge of things, you're going to orient yourself toward the long edge of your mat. So if you move down to one edge, so these got these long edges on either side. And then at first, just move laterally. So a sideways crawl. This is where the extra cushioning can be nice. And if you remember about crawling, right, you remember that your limbs move in opposition. So my right knee and my left hand move at the same time. Do that a couple more times so that you end where you started. And then when you get to your starting place, just have a seat back on your heels. Okay? So it might be that you do that again, right? Or that thing that you were doing a moment ago where you started on all fours and you picked yourself up and you looked back over yourself to see what was behind you. That's called a Lego roll, right? So you can do that same sort of Lego roll and keep going. To stay low to the ground, right? Mm-hmm. That's it, Donna. So if you think, oh, I want to stay as close to the ground with my butt as possible, not going up and down very much. And still feeling like your foot is the thing that moves first. One more time. Because it's tempting to swing a hand first, but step a foot first. Good. And then have a moment to pause. Okay, so we're going to put all of those things into it's sort of like a singular movement, but it's several movements strung together. So think of it as a mala of sorts to experiment with getting up. And so it doesn't need to be at all any particular way of getting up, but use all the tools. So these rolls, the squat that you did, all of that comes into play. So I'm going to start on my, just watch for a sec. I'm going to start on my back and use that windshield wiper roll to come up. And then I can use that pivot to walk my hands back. So I come up onto my feet. And then I try to remember which way I went. So I come down, roll to my side, go the other way, sit and spin. Maybe I step wide and I come up. Okay? So you're just experimenting with being on the floor, using some of these rolling around techniques to get up to standing, and then trying to remember how you got up and going back in a similar fashion, right? Retracing your steps 5 times. I like that expression, Josie, right? Right? So you start perhaps on the floor and you roll in one direction, you roll up. You can flip to something like all fours, walk that back into a squat, and come up to stand. And then if I was reversing that, I would go back down into a squat, through something like all fours. You can kick a foot around to sit, lie down on my side, and roll across my back. Right? This is why having a little room to play, Barb, is nice, right? Because you don't want to bump into any of the china on the cabinet, right? Moving in your own way. One of my movement teachers always says, the more you move, the more you move. The more you move, the more ways you can move, the more ways you can move. We often get very stuck, right? And there's benefits to being able to use your hands to get off the floor. There's benefits to not using your hands to get off the floor. But there are quite a lot of times that you're on the floor that you want to figure out how to get off the floor. Or out of a chair, or out of bed, right? It doesn't always mean that it will be graceful. The vast majority of things that we do in our day don't need to be and aren't. The next time that you're up to stand, stay standing, so that if you spread out a blanket over your spot, here's an opportunity to fold it up again. And then we're going to use the rest of the time to be a bit more chill. So once you've refolded your blanket, you can lay one blanket somewhere near the bottom third of your mat across your mat. And you can lay a bolster right behind that. And then you can have a throw pillow or a folded blanket somewhere toward the head end of that. And then you'll want to have your strap close enough to grab. Okay. I mean, your last little activation of your abdominals, of your core stabilization muscles. So when you sit, I'm close to the bolster. I'm going to pull it even closer. So at first, it's right behind my sacrum. So whatever you're using back there, bring it close. If you are shorter stature or have a shorter waist, or you don't have as much mobility as you'd like in your spine, you can always make this lower. It does not need to be quite as high. And then start with the soles of your feet down, so like the way you were sitting before. Reach your arms up alongside your head. Open your arms to a T and sweep them forward. Begin to roll back across whatever is behind your back. Add your arms alongside your head as your head gently touches down. Press down to rise up so your arms lead the way. Release your arms down. Arms up alongside your head. Out to a T. They go forward, you roll back. Arms alongside your head, big breath in. And then as you're exhaling, you can sit yourself up. Arms down by your sides. Arms up alongside your head. Out wide to a T. Forward with your arms to roll back. Arms overhead. Sitting up. Release your arms. Last one. Arms up. Arms wide. Arms forward to recline. And then as your arms are going overhead, you can adjust whatever is going to go under your head, to that throw pillow or that blanket. And then perhaps your arms open up to a T. So here's where you need to just assess and be real, right? Realistic with yourself. So whatever is underneath your heart, if it feels huge and unnecessary, you can always go to something lower. You want to have this heart opening, you want to have this back bend, but you don't want it to be so big that it feels like you can't be here and like you can't breathe. A heaviness in your shoulders for sure. Sometimes a momentary lift of your hips and a little waggle of your pelvis will allow you to find a different spot to hook into with your shoulder blades so that your arms can get heavier and then your hips can drop. You decide if your knees remain bent here or if you stretch your legs out long. So if you feel any sharp discomfort in your back, then definitely make what's underneath your heart smaller. And then notice your breathing here, and that you don't have to do a lot. Right? The shape has already made your lungs more prominent, made your whole front body more prominent. So just allow yourself to inhabit that space. If having your arms open to a T does not work, you can place your upper arms and your elbows on top of whatever is underneath your heart, and then rest a hand on your heart and a hand on your belly. Designing your experience there. Knowing that at any point you have the permission to leave the shape earlier and roll to your side. sinking across your shoulders. Staying soft across your jaw. Staying here for just a little bit longer. And then keep your head and shoulders heavy. You can begin to bend your knees, walking one foot in and then the other, pausing. Decide which way you want to roll. And then let an arm come across your chest, still with a heavy head. So you can roll, curl onto your side. And then you're just sitting up enough to remove the blanket that was underneath your hip. Just move it out of the way. And then set yourself up so that your right hip is the hip against your bolster. And it's sort of like the front third rather than square in the middle. Take your strap and put the little loop around your left foot. So really around the arch of your foot, really in the instep. And you can tighten it there. Have both knees bent for a moment. Draw both knees close to the bolster. Use your hands on the bolster and just hike your ribs up over the side so that you start to lay yourself down over the bolster. You decide if your right arm is going to go out long in the direction of your head or cut across. And then the blanket or pillow becomes a pillow, right? So my arm is long, so I'm going to put the blanket over my arm and let my head rest on that. It's this side-lying shape. Yeah. And then right where the strap is on my left thigh, I'm going to wrap my hand into it. So I've still got my knee bent. And I'm going to wrap my hand in enough so that now as I begin to extend my left leg out long, I'm still holding on to the strap. And I might have to slack a little bit, but I want my arm to get fully extended and my leg to get fully extended. And your foot's still on the floor, Josie, and your head is nice and heavy. So you're using your foot to tug your arm. Feeling like your shoulder, your left shoulder, can get pulled away from your ear some. Breathing all the way in. So Barb, make sure that your left leg stretches out away from the bolster, so away from your head. So not toward the screen, yeah, lengthwise. And then your left arm is right on top of your left hip. Yeah. Yeah. And really feel like you're going the length of your mat with your left leg. And then press your foot away. And then release your hand out of the strap, and you can just let the strap drop. Then your left arm can either come alongside your head, and you can take hold of your left wrist, so you've got both arms framing your head there perhaps. If your right arm is coming across, then your left arm can go up and over solo. But you're coming into this side bend. So still draped on your side there, Josie. Make sure your ribs are totally over the bolster. And then without going too far, you just start to move a little bit toward your back so you can see some ceiling. So you get a little bit more space on the front side of your left hip, all the way into your left waist. Soften some of the tug with your hand on your wrist. And give yourself one more breath there. Release any grip. Your left hand can move onto the bolster as you roll onto your right side. Stack your two knees close to each other. Roll a little bit towards your chest and belly so you can bring your right hand in closer and sit yourself up. And then you can take the loop that was on your left foot, move it onto your right foot. And you can just turn your body so that your left hip now is against the bolster. And your knees can be close there. It's your left ribs that go over the top of the bolster. Decide how your left arm is going to set up, if it's going to go long or if it's going to go across. Make sure the strap is in grabbing range with your right hand. Do a little wrap. Keep your left knee right up against the bolster. Start to send your right leg long, your right elbow long. So you pull your right shoulder away from your right ear. Keeping your right wrist right on top of your outer right thigh. And you can pump the gas a couple times with your right foot and feel how that changes the experience for your right shoulder. A little bit more reach for one last moment. Soften your grip on the strap. And your right hand might stop at your bolster, or you might go all the way up and over with your right arm. Hold on to your right wrist. You're really feeling the opening in your side first. And then a little micro turn toward your back. You turn your gaze, a little bit of your chest in the direction of the ceiling. Think about, if you practice yin, think about banana. The side lying pose that you do, or side stretching pose that you do on your back. Give yourself just a little bit more here. Good. Soften any grip. Roll to your left side. Let your right knee come close to your left knee. Press against the bolster. Start to sit yourself up. Take the loop off of your foot. And then you can use your bolster to sit on. You can use anything that you like, obviously, but and I'm going to fold a couple of blankets a little bit thicker on either side of me, sort of at a sort of V shape, and just cross my legs, right? So I'm using the blankets to just prop my knees up from the ground, but I'm also propped up. Allow yourself just to sink into that, adjust your feet as you need. And then turn your body to your right and frame your right leg. And just take a little bow in the direction of it. And then perhaps let your hands walk a little bit further. Maybe one more step further. See this little bow in the direction of your legs. Feel the space in your left waist all the way down to your outer left hip. Keep your head and chest low. Walk your hands to the midpoint. Maybe you drop to your elbows. You can use your thumbs against your brow ridge, bringing up a prayer. Might be a stack of fists underneath your third eye. And then ease yourself back up. Walk your hands in. And then change the order of your leg cross. Walk your hands to your left and just frame for a moment. And then you might take more of a fold, one hand and then the other going forward, still over your knee. And then your hand can go a little bit more. Taking it to your depth, where you can still breathe. Simply unencumbered. And stay low as you walk into the center. Fold here. Might be that you stack your hands and rest your head. Stack your fists and rest your head, or rest your head on your thumbs. And then slowly walk yourself up. Unfold your legs and then set yourself up for rest. So you can use your props in any way that you like. Feel free to cover yourself up when you lie back. Give yourself the kind of shavasana that you need. So that could even be lying down on your belly, if that's better for you. Sometimes during allergy season, lying back can kind of bring all this stuff forward and make you feel like you want to cough or sneeze. So you can lie on your belly or lie on your side. But make it what you need. And let yourself drop. Letting go of all the extra activity. Both in your body and in your mind. Allow all the layers to drop. Settle into a shallower breath. Land in what feels like the full depth of your letting go. And then begin to fill yourself up with new breath. Slowly refilling the tank.
filling up your body, asking it to move. And move your head side to side and begin to step your feet back so your knees bend. And then decide which way you want to roll to come up. Making your way into a seat. You might set your hands together at your heart or rest them somewhere else on your body. Take a moment to drop your gaze, to bring your chin toward your heart. An acknowledgement of this time together. Touch your prayer into your third eye. Touch your prayer before your lips. Return your prayer to your heart. And breathe in. We are one life, we are one light, and we are one love. Bowing, celebrating the divine in each other. Peace be with you and blessings upon you. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. Be well. Enjoy Star Wars Day. And see you soon.